Well, good morning, Leeds United fans. It is game day here at Ellen Road as I'm joined by the Don. Big game for the Whites today, really big game, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this lovely morning, this lovely West Yorkshire morning as Ellen Road seems to be packing out, as always, on match day. And I wanted to get your thoughts on the necessity, we were speaking on this last night, on the debrief, but the necessity of Leeds United picking up. It feels like all 3 points at the weekend, and it feels like a win when it comes to a cup competition. Now for me, I've never really been as keen as the majority of Leeds fans on the cup competitions. And the reason behind that is I know it's historical glory, I know there's prestige to it, I know there's a real honour to winning these competitions, but quite firmly, the majority of my lifetime has been spent in the Championship and a little bit of League One. Touching on 31 years old, it's not been a historical time of which you've sort of enjoyed Leeds United. You've endured it really. So having a cup competition, I've always seen as a bit of a distraction to the league, but it feels very important this season. Very, very important indeed, and there's many factors to that. I've mentioned on the thumbnail about Sammie Szmodics. The reason behind that is because I think Leeds United would welcome a goal scorer right now, but almost above anything else, they'd welcome an impact. Someone in the attacking quartet or the attacking line who can provide Leeds United with chance creation, who can provide Leeds United with ultimately that real quality up top. But overall, Leeds are in a fantastic position. As I walk around this fantastic stadium and the kits and everything that have been put on by the club, there's a real, you can tell there's a massive effort being made here, and it feels like there's a lot coming together of which is going to come to that boiling point of success, Leeds United being promoted. And the reason I'm mentioning Szmodics is, once again, 2 goals for Blackburn last night and an assist, and he's looking absolutely fantastic, it has to be said. He's on fire. Now, does the money for Sammie Szmodics as I head over to the old Peacock, does that now increase massively with another 2 goals and an assist last night? He's looking on fire when it comes to this season, and he's twerking for that move, isn't he? He knows he's better than Blackburn, with all respect, even though they've had a fantastic start, scoring an absolute mass amount of goals, smacking up Stockport last night, who've been a brilliant run. And I do wonder to myself, is it going to be a Premier League move for the number 10? But could Leeds United be that attraction? And you hear a lot of the football stands say, he wouldn't fit in. Why would we go and get Sammie Szmodics when we've got Joel Piroe? And maybe there's something behind that. Maybe there is something. The shiny new toy experiment, of which is very much you get, it's out with the old, in with the new. You've got Joel Piroe, of which I'm not a massive fan of. I don't think Leeds have ever really truly been able to get the true guidance and the true manner of how he's going to fit, or how the manager's going to guide him, I should say, into this starting 11 and squad in general. And hence why he found himself on the bench at the weekend in a starting of a championship season. But I do wonder, Piroe out and maybe Szmodics in, could that be an option? Szmodics' goals, he's a different profile to anything we've got right now, but what he is he's going to be expensive. And do we already have the answer on our doorstep of Joel Piroe? I would say there's a quickness of thought that Szmodics has. There's an energy, an endeavour, a personality in Sammie Szmodics, of which I think he would fit in perfectly with everyone here. Joel Piroe is very meek, he's very mild, but he's technically evidently a very, very good player. But do we already have the answer at our door there with the Dutchman? Potentially. And maybe that's what's putting the Leeds United bosses off signing someone like, or a profile of Sammie Szmodics. It's a cracker in it, this thing. Cracker of a stadium. But it's a question. Of course it is. It's a question that will will be hard at the bosses are up there. There will be questions being asked about this, of course they will, because Leeds have got a huge task over the next week, but it's not only just in games, it's not only just coming up against the Boro side, who I firmly expect will be in the top 7-8. Boro, historically a working class club who will take these cup competitions seriously. I was mentioning earlier about my experience as a fan with cup competitions and maybe not taking it too seriously, basically because Leeds have always needed to focus on these these league games. But does this season ultimately become more serious already because Daniel Farke needs to pick up wins? And 2 wins in 10 for me makes this a massive game for Daniel Farke. A massive game for him. You don't want to be going 2 wins in 11 and then even if you're picking up a draw at the weekend, 2 wins in 12. But does that matter? If you're picking up a draw at West Bromwich Albion, we say consistently that we've got the best squad or one of the best squads on paper. Problem is, football's not played on paper. It's really not. Games are not played on paper, and we know that going to West Bromwich Albion at the weekend is going to be a huge, huge test for this Leeds United side, and arguably is right now one of the toughest places, if not the toughest place to go in the division, even including this place. We struggled against West Brom massively last season, even at the beginning of the season. So Leeds are in a situation right now where we know what needs to happen in terms of results and victories ultimately, but is this going to be it's a big week for Farke for me. It is, and I'm not saying it is a must win tonight, a draw and then, I don't know if it can go to penalties, to be quite honest with you, but as I see Mr. Digital Wilson there entering to do the social media for tonight, it's the question is always, is this a game that Leeds United are targeting to win, or are they that bothered? What's the rotation going to look like? Are we going to include some of our big hitters? I think we will. I think there's going to be mass big hitters in tonight, and I think that's probably going to surprise a few. But I think this is a game that Daniel Farke has to get right. I think tactically we've got to see things, and I think in the first game we saw some decent things. I thought we still saw some problems from the past when it comes to the manager in terms of squad selection, timings of substitutes, bringing the right subs on at the right time. Someone like a Sammie Szmodics would help that, wouldn't it? 28 goals last season, but getting back to that topic of conversation again, you saw Leeds United bringing in Joel Piroe last season in that number 10 role, who got a mass amount of goals over 2 seasons, proved it for another season on top of what Szmodics has already done. So the overall point here is, everybody, we need more depth. We've got a squad size of 20. We've got a very good squad of 20, but it just feels like it needs one injury and Leeds are in a real problem situation. But what I will say is, ultimately, conclusively, is that a word? To conclude, Leeds have got a big game tonight, and it feels like Daniel Farke's got a big game tonight as well already. And I think it's just because this is how the 49ers look at it. I think it is a long-term project. But ultimately, as I've just mentioned, everybody, Leeds United, 2 wins in 10. And that book needs to change. It needs to change very quickly, because you don't want this team who are vying for those top 2 suddenly forgetting what a win feels like. And ultimately, that's what I think tonight is a massive game for Farke. I think he'll go strong. And I'm going to predict a 2-1 win to Leeds United. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, everybody. Rolling on to West Bromwich Albion at the weekend will not be easy, but let me know what your thoughts are in the section below. Sammie Szmodics for you or not?